Okay, we'll get going in just 1 minute. We'll wait for a few more people to join us on Instagram and Facebook, and we will get going, my friends. Welcome. Hi everyone in Facebook land, good to see you. Hi Instagram people, hi, I went on Birthright maybe 15 years ago. Best Rabbi, thank you. Alison, I appreciate that. Give it just 1 more minute and we'll get going. Hi, Shalom Simon. Okay, Jessica, can we begin? Yeah. I think we can get going. Hi Mark, thank you so much for that. I'm missing you too. Okay, friends, this is a big topic, which unfortunately most people don't even realize is a topic. And, hi guys, good to see you again. This class I've called a number of things over the past. I call it Oi, It Hurts, Health and Healing in Jewish Thought, or You Are Not What You Eat. I know it's hard to believe this, but Judaism, Jewish thought, and Jewish writings have quite a bit to say about how you eat, when you eat, what you eat, sleeping, and your digestive system, as you will see. Most of what we'll be discussing this evening comes from the Rambam. Maimonides, the Rambam, gives us quite a lot of directives, and actually puts in a number of places how a person should treat their body, why they should treat their body in a very special and respected way. And the Rambam was a doctor. He codified a lot of his thoughts in the Mishnah Torah, in Hilchot Deot, in the laws of daily living. And this, unfortunately, I believe, I've heard this a number of times, but I happen to agree with it, this is probably one of the most understudied Rambams in Jewish history. Everyone's very quick to learn the Rambam, Maimonides, on the laws of Shabbat, on Purim, Hanukkah, laws of Tzedakah, but they don't even realize that the Rambam in the same Mishnah Torah, in the same book that he codifies all of Jewish law, he also codifies things you should do in order to take care of your body. And that is going to be our discussion tonight. So we're going to be going into a number of different areas, mostly the Rambam. We'll be looking at the Gemara, looking at some of the words of Shlomo HaMelech. We'll be looking at some more extensive writings from the regimen of health of the Rambam as well. That, my friends, is going to be our journey this evening. Let's begin at the beginning, and let's say that we have a problem. And I wouldn't just say it's an American problem. I believe that it's a international problem that we're seeing. One of the signs of affluence that we have seen over the past 100 years is the obesity epidemic that we've seen coursing through the veins of the world population, especially here in the first world. The percentage of adults age 20 and over who are obese is 33.9%, says the CDC. 33%. Percentage of adults over 20 who are overweight is 34%. Adolescents is at 18%. Children, 6 to 11, is 19.6% are obese. And even according to the CDC, percent of children ages 2 to 5 who are obese is over 10%. We have a problem. We have a problem. Now, let me explain to you, this is not a discussion on the laws of kashrut, of kosher. A person could very easily be keeping very, very kosher and watching exactly what they eat in terms of kashrut and still be eating extremely unhealthily and not following the guidance of the Rambam, Maimonides, and the other commentators we are going to see this evening. Let's begin at the beginning, and we'll start with a verse from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 15. And the pasuk tells us, "V'nishmartem ma'od lenafshotechem." You should greatly, greatly guard your health. There is a mitzvah from the Torah to guard your health. And we're going to see that comes in many different forms. What you eat, how much you eat, when you eat, how you sleep, going to the bathroom, medications, all these things. We're going to take a very holistic view according to the Torah. This is the rubric we're going to be following, that you have to take care of your health. Says Rashi, we actually learn from this pasuk in the Torah that doctors are allowed to heal. It could be, you may have thought that God is the one who decides who gets well, who gets sick. And Rashi tells us that's a big mistake to just believe in that. Hashem is the ultimate Rofeh, doctor. However, God put it in our hands to do his shtadlut, to take care of our health, take care of our bodies, and to visit doctors, and doctors are there to take care of us, and that's why there's so many Jewish ones. Now, the Rambam uses a very general approach, more of a holistic approach when it comes to the laws of health and healing, and he says in the Regimen of Health, chapter 2, if a patient can be managed with a management of nourishment alone, if you could just figure out what to feed a person, and just by feeding them the right thing, that should be enough, then that's great. If, however, they get sick and they need medication, you should start with light medications, and slowly, you can begin to up the dosage and the power of the medications that person takes. He says, therefore, one should be very careful and stay away from things that destroy the body and accustom themselves to be healthy and only eat and do things that help them take care and improve their body. You know, if the Rambam, Maimonides, were to walk into a kosher supermarket today, he would say, you know what? These things could well be kosher, but I'm not sure, my friends, if you're allowed to eat them, because they do have to be good for you and have to increase your body, strength and power. Says the Rambam, taking care of your body is one of the only ways to adequately know Hashem. A person should know it's impossible. Listen to the words of the Rambam in Hilchot Dayot, the Laws of Conduct, chapter 3, verse 3. It is impossible to know God unless you understand that if you are always feeling hungry and feeling sick, or your limbs are in pain, you cannot take care of your neshama, your soul, and you are not going to be able to serve God in the right way. The Rambam sees the body and the neshama as one cohesive unit. If you're not taking care of your guf, of your body, your neshama, your soul is going to be impacted. And the problem is you're going to have a problem, a challenge connecting and having a spiritual connection to Hashem, to God. Now, this idea that the Rambam says a person should take care of their body is not just, strange enough, while they are awake, even when a person is sleeping. A person should say, everything I do, everything I eat, everything that happens with my body, I should have the intention that I'm allowing my mind and my body to rest in order that I should not become sick, which would prevent me from serving Hashem, from serving God. Thus, even sleep, says the Rambam, is a mitzvah. Having adequate, and he's going to give us the adequate and correct amount of sleep that a person should have in order to take care of their body. Let's have a look at the basic premise of the Rambam. He says, and these words, they were written hundreds of years ago, and yet they could have been written yesterday. They are absolutely incredible. Says the Rambam, Liolam, lo yachal adam ela k'shu ra'ev. A person should not eat unless they are hungry. V'lo yishte v'shlo tzameh, and don't drink unless you're thirsty. And don't, and the Rambam speaks a lot about this, do not hold yourself back from going to the bathroom for even a single moment. If you need and you feel the need to defecate or pass water, you should do so immediately. Now there's other halachot when it comes to this. A person should not pray when they need to defecate, right? A person, when you need to go to the bathroom, you should go immediately. Says the Rambam, you need to check your body 10 times a day. Before and after you sleep, before and after you eat, before and after you exercise. When you feel the need to go to the bathroom, you should check and think before and after you pray. You should go to the bathroom. One of the greatest damages a person can do to their body is holding back going to the bathroom. And actually, on the other side, constipation, says the Rambam, is one of the most destructive things a person can do to their body. Says the Rambam, you should not, don't eat unless you are hungry. One of the greatest dangers to your body, says the Rambam, when it comes to eating, is overeating. He says that you can actually get away with eating some unhealthy foods as long as you don't overeat them. How much is considered to be overeating? Says the Rambam, first of all, let's actually quote Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon. Says Shlomo HaMelech in the book of Proverbs, Mishlei, Shomer piv ulashono, a person should guard their mouth and their tongue, Shomer mitzarat nafsha, and guard themselves from trouble. What is this idea of guarding your mouth and your tongue? Says Shlomo HaMelech, people are very good, or they realize the need to watch what they say. What they say is going to influence and impact their neshamot. Don't speak gossip. Don't speak lashon hara. However, says Shlomo HaMelech, it's also important to not only watch what comes out of your mouth, but also what goes into your mouth. And that is how much that you eat. Says the Rambam in Hilchot Dayot, a person should not eat until their stomach is very full. Okay? You should only eat until one's stomach is 3/4 full. Therefore, overeating till you feel completely satiated. You know what I'm talking about? It's Shabbat, and it's sitting there with the cholent or the chamin or the riza or the choresh or whatever you're eating on Shabbat, and you eat until your stomach is bursting. That, says the Rambam, is asur. You have to eat until you're 3/4 full. That is the amount that you should be eating. And if that's a problem to figure out, then look at how much, I mean, the scientists tell us your stomach is basically a fist. This is how much you should be eating every meal, right? This amount, okay? So you want to try to be eating 3/4 of that amount. Now we know on Shabbat you can increase the amount of food that you eat. It does it, but the Vilna Gaon says that the Yetzer Hara comes to us and says, no, it's Shabbat. Just keep doing. This is a mistake. It's a mitzvah to have oneg on Shabbat, eat a little bit more than you usually do, but overeating, says the Rambam, is a tzam mavet, is a poison. Those are the words of the Rambam Maimonides. This overeating is actually destroying us and giving us a lot of pain and unnecessary problems. That's the Rambam. V'achila gasa leguf, kol adam, a person's overeating, is, says the Rambam, sama mavet, a poison to the body, and is a cause to many illnesses that we have, is this overeating. Most illnesses are caused by bad foods and overeating, even if one overeats good food. So we're thinking, you know what, I'll eat healthy foods. However, overeating even a healthy food is a problem. That is the words of the Rambam. So point number one, when it comes to healthy eating according to Judaism, is overeating is a problem. And a person could still be doing that on Shabbat, and it is asur. Okay, how about drinking? Says the Rambam, a person should drink only a small amount of water during the meal, and if you're able to, says the Rambam, mix that with wine. Now, wine, you have to remember, although the Rambam lived in a Muslim land where wine was forbidden, a little bit of wine mixed into your water is very good to your digestive system. Yes, I know, I'm saying it. Drinking wine is good for you. When the food begins to be digested in the intestines, you may drink what is necessary, right? However, you should not drink too much water even when the food has become digested. So dehydration is a big challenge. A little bit of water during the meal, and then you can drink a lot more afterwards. Now, when it comes to eating during the meal, the Rambam makes a very interesting distinction of the order of the food that we eat. And the Rambam tells us that a person should eat lighter foods and then heavier foods. For if you're eating, for example, salad and chicken, you should try to eat the salad first and then the chicken. The lighter food gets digested quicker, and you don't eat heavy foods. So lighter before heavier. If you're eating poultry and meat, eat the poultry first and then you should eat the meat. Always the lighter food and then the heavier food, says the Rambam. Before a person eats, he should try to exercise. Exercise to get your body up and ready before you eat, just to get your blood moving is an important thing to do. Okay, as he says, the rule is a person should engage his body and exert himself in a sweat-producing task each morning. Morning is the best time before a person eats. Afterwards, he should rest slightly until he regains his composure, and then he should eat. If he were able to bathe in hot water after exercising, that would be best. So the first thing a person should do in the morning is not eat straight away. First of all, do a little bit of exercise just to get your breathing up. Okay, actually we're going to define what exercise means according to the Rambam. Then you should rest a little bit. If you're able to bathe yourself in hot water, do that. And then you should be eating. What exactly is exercise according to the Rambam? According to the Rambam, exercise is defined as a strong or weak movement that is vigorous, and as a result, the person's breathing begins to increase. So he defines exercise as your breathing starting to get more and more vigorous, right? He says it is proper to do physical exercise on an empty stomach. That seems to be the derech of the Rambam, right? And after visiting the bathroom. So according to the Rambam, the best way to do it is on an empty stomach, right? Before you have a meal, right? You should try to do your exercise. And he says the best time for exercise is in the morning when a person awakens from their sleep after a visit to the bathroom, as has been stated. Okay? So that seems to be the derech of the Rambam. Exercise is defined as what is this strong or weak movement when it comes to exercise? A strong movement, I know. I'm running, I'm playing tennis, I'm swimming. What is a weak movement? So I spoke to a friend of mine who's a physical coach, and he says, yoga are actually weak movements, but they get your breathing increased, right? All these things are actually good for you and considered to be exercise if they increase your breathing and get your heart racing. That, says the Rambam, even if you're not doing a strong movement, that is the best way that a person should be exercising. And as he says, ideally in the morning on an empty stomach. That's the derech of the way of the Rambam. Okay. So now we've exercised and we've bathed and we've rested, and now we are ready to eat. Says the Rambam, how should we eat? Listen to these amazing words. One should always eat while seated or reclining on their left side. Sound familiar? Right? Haseba. On Pesach, we lean to the left. Why not to the right? Because supposedly there's a little flap in our throats. If we lean to the right, it opens up over the windpipe. So you should lean a little bit to the left while you eat. Okay? But you should be seated. I know that when we go to the Kiddush in the Bet Knesset, in the synagogue on Shabbat, right, we go to the wedding or the Bar Mitzvah, we're fressing as we stand up. The Rambam does not think that's good. A person should be sitting down at rest while they are eating, says the Rambam. You should not walk about while eating or ride or exert yourself or subject your body to startling influence, okay? Nor take a stroll until your food has been digested by your intestines. Remember your mother used to tell you, don't swim after you eat. It was actually pretty important and pretty useful information. There was a study, I have it over here, out of Harvard or one of the big universities, I have it written down in my notes over here, where they say that when a person eats, the blood is now going into the stomach and is helping digest the food. And then you start to exercise and the blood, right, start to rush out to the limbs. You shouldn't be doing that. It's not healthy. Your mother was right. You should wait, whatever they say, 30 minutes, 1 hour. Sit down while you're eating, concentrate, focus. One of the things we all do, which makes us overeat, which as the Rambam says is the worst thing you can do to your body. Overeating is the worst thing. Even healthy foods, right, is you should sit down and focus on the food. One of the diseases we have, and I'm as guilty, is as soon as I sit down, I'm watching something, I'm on my phone, and you don't realize how much you are actually eating. Really, you should prepare your food on your plate, and you should focus and say, that's all I'm going to eat. The doctors tell us, scientists tell us that it takes 30 minutes, I believe, for your body to send a message to your brain that you're actually full. So this overeating thing is because we're completely distracted. I believe the Rambam is telling us that is not what we should be doing. You should be sitting down and relaxed and focus on the food that's in front of you and give your body a chance to realize that your brain is being informed, Dayenu, that's enough. I've had enough to eat. Okay, so let's do this again. Overeating is probably the biggest no-no. Even healthy food. Sit down while you eat. Lean a little bit when you eat. Let the food digest. Don't do strenuous activity. And really a person should focus. I used to have great teachers and leaders who, when they would eat, they would focus on the food they were eating, and they wouldn't allow their minds to be distracted by other things, because that's when we end up emotionally eating and it just goes in. Okay, let's talk a little bit. So that's exercise that we're going to do before we eat, and that is how we eat as well. Okay. One more thing in terms of exercise. And being idle, says the Rambam, is a terrible thing. Okay? As long as a person exercises vigorously, does not eat their fill, has a soft stool. Now the Rambam speaks a lot about, excuse me, I hope you're not eating a dinner while you're listening to this, but the consistency of your stool is actually a very big indicator, says the Rambam, of how you are doing. If a person is constipated, it's a problem. If a person is having diarrhea, it's a big problem, right? You have to have a soft stool, okay? If you make sure that you exercise, eat healthily, feel robust, even if you eat some unhealthy food, says the Rambam, you will not get sick, okay? Let's talk about sleep. Sleep, according to the Rambam, and he gets this from the Gemara, is a mitzvah. And scientists agree with us. One of the worst things you could do for your heart, one of the worst things you could do for your body, and ergo, if you're mistreating your body, you're mistreating your neshama, your soul, you're mistreating your soul, you are breaking your connection to God, to Hashem. So remember, taking care of your body is a mitzvah d'oraita from the Torah. This is the words of the Rambam. Sleep is one of the most important things a person can do. How much should a person be sleeping every single day? Says the Rambam, listen to his words. I'm just quoting the Rambam. Don't shoot the messenger. Together, day and night, to make up a period of 24 hours. Okay? It is sufficient for a person to sleep 1/3 of this period. So 24 divided by 3 is 8 hours. You should try. I know it's funny. Don't laugh. And I teach college, and my students cannot believe it. But you need to be sleeping 8 hours a night. There is nothing more important. You can eat healthily, you can exercise, but if you're not having enough sleep, you're working against your body. The Rambam says 8 hours a night, right? These hours should be towards the end of the night, so that there will be 8 hours from the beginning of his sleep until sunrise. Thus, he should rise from his bed before sunrise. Now, we live in a world where we have lights on and we have phones on and we're constantly bombarded. So for us, 3 in the morning, right, is the same as, midday. it's a challenge. It's a challenge. But remember, in the old days, when did a person wake up? We had a natural alarm clock. The sun rose, right? The sun came into your home and you rose as well. That seems to be what the Rambam is recommending. But 8 hours is very, very important. Now, I do want to mention this is very important. And the Shulchan Aruch, Rabbi Yosef Karo mentions this, and the Rambam, they have a machloket, they actually have an argument about the following point. And that is and by the way, doctors say this now, this is standard practice. Eating before you go to sleep is a terrible thing to do. You should try to go to bed a little bit hungry. The Rambam says you should wait 3 to 4 hours. 3 to 4 hours before you sleep, you should be not eating. Okay, so within 3 to 4, so if you're planning on going to bed at, 11 o'clock, by 8, 9, right, you should stop all eating. Drinking water is fine, but eating should stop. You should go to bed a little bit hungry. I know some people who find it impossible to go to bed with that feeling of hunger. It's very, very good for you, okay? Breakfast is break fast. Breakfast is break fast. You should wake up. I know this is a thing that people speak about now, this intermittent fasting, right? There's a lot written about it. You should look into it. And that is 16 hours or so, right, of no eating. If you work it out, this actually, if you follow this way of doing stuff, right, if you stop eating 3 to 4 hours before you go to sleep, Shulchan Aruch says 2 hours, but 3 to 4 hours, right? I'll push it to 5 hours before you go to sleep. Go to bed hungry. It's a great thing to do. When you wake up, you should drink water. You should drink water, allow the toxins to flow out of you, and drinking a lot of water. My wife knows, I have a bottle of water next to my bed. I wake up and I am chugging that water. Okay, so 8 hours a night should be spent sleeping at least, okay? Okay. How should you sleep? The Rambam even tells us how we should be sleeping, okay? By the way, where does the Rambam get this information from? So some of it, says the Rambam, comes from the Gemara, but he was a doctor. So a lot of this he actually saw as his own personal experience. He was actually a doctor to the Sultan of Egypt. Actually, the Rambam, according to tradition, was the doctor of the Sultan of Egypt's harem. He had a harem of wives, and he only trusted the Rambam to be the doctor because he knew he was a holy and religious Jew, and he realized that the Rambam would not be misbehaving. So he gave him that very, very special job. So a lot of what the Rambam writes actually comes from his own personal experience. Okay? How should a person sleep? A person should not sleep face down or on his back, but on his side, on his left side at the beginning of the night, and on the right side at the end of the night. That's the writings of the Rambam. You should try to move around a little bit and not to put too much pressure. Oh, by the way, the Rambam says a person should lean to the left. I asked a doctor about this once, and he says that your stomach cavity is on the left, and you don't want to put too much pressure on your stomach while you're eating. So you should lean, right, on the other side, okay? He should not retire shortly after eating. We already said this. He should during the day. The Rambam seems to say that sleeping during the day is not a good and healthy thing to do. Okay? Okay. Now we mentioned this already, I'll say it again because it's following the order of the Rambam. A person who desires to eat poultry and meat in one sitting should eat the poultry first. If you want eggs and chicken, you should eat the eggs first. If you desire to eat both meat of a large cattle or small cattle, eat the meat of small cattle. Lighter food first and the heavier food after. Digest the food that you are eating. Okay? All right. Let's keep going over here. Bear with me. You know, it's interesting. I saw a documentary. It was quite a famous one on Sumo. The average person takes 2,000 to 3,000 calories a day. Sumo wrestlers, it says, eat 20,000 calories a day and really overload. Happens to be that most of what they eat they eat before they go to sleep. Okay? This idea of how they get so big is they have big meals, but major part of that is actually eating a large meal right before they sleep, which we said from the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch is a big no-no. How many meals should a person be eating? So the Shulchan Aruch, based upon the Gemara, tells us, I know we're used to having 3 meals a day. He seems to say 2 meals a day is sufficient. 1 in the morning and 1 in the late afternoon should be sufficient for a person. I know we use this idea of eating, but eating small meals twice a day should be sufficient. Okay? All right. The Rambam even gives, what liquids? So the best thing a person can drink in terms of after their meal is completed is water. The Shulchan Aruch says the best thing a person should drink is water. The Rambam says one of the best foods for you, the liquids for you and your body, is actually wine. Okay? And he actually says it's known among physicians that the best of all the nutrients and nourishing foods that we should have, which is forbidden in Islamic law, because we're living in an Islamic country, is wine. It's abundantly nourishing, it's good, thin, rapidly digested. In addition, it actually helps expel harmful superfluities through the pores of the flesh. It's one of the best things a person can drink. Okay? Over drinking wine, we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes, but a little bit of wine. Okay? This was actually called the French paradox. There was a 60 Minutes on this a number of years ago. How come the French eat so much food and foie gras and all their breads, and yet they seem to be very healthy and they don't have as much as an obesity problem? Okay, I don't think they treat food the same way that we do here in the United States of America. However, they say that they drink wine, and for some reason the wine they drink counteracts, right, a lot of the bad foods that they eat. Says the Rambam, and this is the most famous Rambam, which I'm sure all of you have heard, and that is, one of the best liquids a person can drink is, anybody know? Chicken soup. Your Safta, your grandmother, was right. Says the Rambam in the Causes of Symptoms, chapter 20. One should always attempt to partake of the meat of chicken or hens. One should always drink their broth, their soup, because this kind of fowl has the property of improving physical complaints and even may cure leprosy. I don't know if that's true anymore. Stay away from fowl. Oh, look at these amazing words. It says the Rambam, look at this, from hundreds of years ago. Stay away from eating fowl, chicken, turkey that have been fattened by force feeding. Those are the words of Maimonides of the Rambam. One of the worst things you can do is to eat chicken or poultry that is force-fed. I do not know how the Rambam knows this, but he says it. He also says that eating bread, eating from flour that has been completely, all the bran has been taken of it, white flour as we know it today, is also not good for a person either. Very interesting. So chicken soup is very good for you. And there's been a lot of studies at this point that there's certain ingredients in chicken soup on the broth that comes from poultry that's very good for a person. The Gemara mentions as well that one of the great things a person can eat, this is the Gemara in Baba Kama, page 82, it's garlic, shum. Shum is actually mentioned in the Torah. Garlic is very good, this is the Gemara. It keeps your body warm, it brightens your face, it increases your vitality, and it kills parasites in the bowel as well. Okay? And the Gemara says, Ezra, right, HaSofer was metaken, says the Gemara, that garlic should be eaten Friday night. Okay? I know many people have the custom to have oil with pieces of garlic inside. My wife does this as well. Very good for you. Okay? Very healthy for a person. And the Mishnah even says, okay, that a person who pronounces a vow saying, I'm not going to eat garlic, okay, should not derive benefit from any Jew. Because Jewish people historically were known as people who eat garlic. Okay? And we know a lot of studies on this. Garlic, we now know, lowers blood pressure, lowers LDL cholesterol, helps reduce buildup of plaque, regulates blood sugar. It's very antioxidants, and all the other wonderful things that it does for you. Let's look at some other foods that the Rambam mentions that are very, very good to eat. And this actually comes from Hilchot Dayot, right? From the Mishnah Torah, where the Rambam writes his laws, right? He says, do not eat a lot of dried fruit. And the Rambam says, do not eat unripe fruit. Unripe fruit is like sword for the body, okay? However, figs and grapes and almonds are always wholesome, both fresh and dried. So he likes figs and he likes grapes and almonds, okay? And the dried grapes, also known as raisins and figs as well. He says you can have as much of them as you need, right? Just don't make them into your regular diet. So eating these foods are very, very good for you, okay? Just once again, do not overeat them. Now the Rambam then says, if you follow this regimen, says the Rambam, I guarantee that you don't overeat, that you go to a doctor and check your health, that you sleep enough, that you don't eat too much fried food. He actually mentions, I forgot to mention it, don't overeat fried foods either. Food that is baked in, food that is fried in oil, he says, is very, very bad for you. A person should stay away from that. Whoever follows these guidelines, says the Rambam, will not become sick, but will die of old age. They will never need a doctor, enjoy perfect health, and will be in fine shape for the rest of their lives. These health-preserving habits are meant only for a healthy person. A sick person, or one who has a disease, or has been living an unhealthy lifestyle for many years, has to observe, says the Rambam, a special regimen prescribed in medical literature, says the Rambam. Okay? So, taking care of your body, he says, is the best way to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not overeating, drinking water, especially after a meal to digest your food, exercising on an empty stomach, ideally in the morning, showering, and checking to see whether you need the bathroom regularly during the day, says the Rambam, is the best thing that you can do for your body. I also, if you don't mind, for the last few minutes, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. This is a summary. I have a lot more to say, but I'm just giving you a summary over here. I wanted to look at the words of the Ramban, Nachmanides. The Ramban, with an N at the end, says that we have a mitzvah to be holy, kadosh, holy. This is actually a pasuk in the Torah, right? The Torah tells us that a person, kadoshim tiyu, a person should try to be holy. How does a person become holy? What is the secret to holiness? So the Ramban says something very, very interesting. He says that holiness does not come from keeping mitzvot. Keeping mitzvot does not make a person holy. What makes a person holy is not by staying away from bad deeds, but by moderating how much you eat. Okay? And then he says, this is a very famous treatise of the Ramban, Nachmanides. He says that a person can be a naval bereshut haTorah. You can be a disgusting person with the permission of the Torah. What does that mean? A disgusting person with the permission of the Torah. He says that a person can keep kosher, extremely kosher, only eating the most kosher foods, right? If they eat pizza, they only eat the pizza that it was made by a holy person, where the sauce came from tomatoes that were blessed by a great Kabbalist, whatever that means, right? Eating cheese that came from a Jewish cow, I don't know, right? A person can keep the most kosher and yet, says the Ramban, still be a naval bereshut haTorah, still be a disgusting person with the permission of the Torah, and that is because they overeat and they are gluttonous. So the Ramban, Nachmanides, goes further than the Rambam and says that how do we define Kedusha? How do we define holiness in Judaism? Holiness, says the Ramban, comes from moderation in all of our physical pleasures. Not eating too much, not drinking too much, not being physically intimate too much. When we moderate ourselves, says the Ramban, that is the recipe for becoming kadosh, for becoming holy. When people overeat, when they enjoy too much physical pleasure, they are actually not fulfilling one of the mitzvot, says the Ramban, of the Torah. And that fits in so well with the Rambam, who says that makes sense, right? Because the Ramban is telling us, if you want to be holy, moderate how much you eat. So a person can eat kosher pizza and kosher wine, but they eat 2 pizza pies, and they then have donuts, and then they have 2 bottles of wine. He says you're missing the whole point of being a holy Jew. Moderation, right? Moderation is the key to spiritual success. That's how a person should be, says the Ramban. And that fits in so beautifully with the Rambam, who wasn't a Kabbalist. Maimonides was a rationalist. But he says if you take care of your body, you're taking care of your soul. Taking care of your soul, you're taking care of your connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu, to God. Because if you're sick and weak and constipated, as we all know, you don't feel that connection. You can't concentrate and focus on your connection to God. Friends, I've spoken for 40 minutes. I'm happy to take any questions that a person may have. I'll be speaking tomorrow. Those who are interested at 12 p.m. Same Zoom channel, Instagram as well, on more of a improving our characters. We're talking about revenge and bearing a grudge, which we'll see is not only bad for your soul, but even bad for your body. We'll discuss that tomorrow, those who are willing to join us. Happy to take any questions you may have. God willing, you may stay healthy, drink the right amount, don't overeat, sleep at least 8 hours a night. And says the Rambam, you get a bracha from Maimonides that you will be healthy, B'ezrat Hashem, and live a long and healthy life. Thank you all very much for channeling in. Happy to take any other questions you may have. Thank you all for being part of this. Thank you, Chazak Ubaruch. See you tomorrow.